Our great friends over at Farrier have been supporting us on Forging Brains for a while now. Since the time that they have sponsored the show, we have received many great products that I wouldn't have thought about buying, or because I was being a tight ass. But they were sent to me in their subscription box, and now I use those products in my day-to-day practice. Each box is sent bi-monthly, and in those boxes is an array of the top tools and products that have been tested by the greats in our industry. So go to www.farrierbox.com and use code BRAINS for 25% off your first month's order. You won't be disappointed, I'll tell you that.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Forging Brains podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Patrick, my co-host, Gavin Cooper. Today we are at Fort Worth. We are at the World Championship Blacksmiths finals for the year. So it's kind of a cool time to be able to sit down with some people that are here and get some in-person conversations. And we got an awesome guest today, Todd Walker.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
Todd's been striking his ass off the whole weekend for everybody and over here selling product. Just been working.
Yeah. There you go.
It's pretty cool that I was pumped to get you on. You were the first contest. I know I brought this. It was like the first contest I ever got to do. Yeah. In a horseshoe in school, and Todd was the guy judge.
I think that was Chris Gregory's, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was a cool deal.
Yeah, that was good. I remember that.
Where was it?
That was at Chris Gregory's school.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Riley was a student there, I think.
Oh, no kidding.
At the time that I judged that, and
burnt up a shoe in each class.
It's a good start.
Yeah, it was really great.
Yeah, we're forging in the dungeon in there.
Yeah.
Those fires, I was like, man, shoes get lost in them forges.
Oh man,
tiny
They're
openings.
dark. Yeah.
Are they?
Yeah, a little tiny opening, and
I've never been there before.
yeah. But it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat looking forge, really.
Oh, yeah. He's got a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's like,
Are they all like portable, or are they like?
No, they're all brick.
all
it's
brick.
a whole brick wall.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Little brick openings.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and then everybody signs all the bricks. The guests have
that's
signed the
been there?
bricks. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
pretty neat.
No, it's kind of cool deal.
Yeah.
So when you're from Texas,
I am from Texas. Yeah.
Where-
Born and raised in Houston. And then I had to get out of the swamp fast. I went to apprentice with Jim Poor and got to live out in West Texas, and that was going from 80-90% humidity to like hardly no humidity in West Texas. So
Oh, I bet.
I was surprised how nothing rust out there. Like, how long has this been here? Oh, it's been there 20 years. Like, it had been disintegrated in Houston.
Wow.
that's how it is at home, man. It's
Yeah.
like you like show up at a client sometimes, they're like, your tools are like kind of rusty. It's like, it's Monday. I
Yeah.
thought it was
That's
Friday.
right. That's right.
So
Yeah.
like,
Your
that's-
anvil's all rusty.
Yeah.
What? You must not shoot very many horses.
Exactly. It's like, I had 2 days off. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. That's how it was in Houston too, dude. Rust overnight. It's like,
That's how
were
it
you
is
even
for me.
here?
Yep.
Well, that's here. We're in Fort Worth. I'm guessing it's not too like. I'm not great at like.
It was
Text-
humid yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday was
And
pretty humid.
some of the shoes on the table
Were
from the
rusting?
first goes had rust all over them.
Yeah.
I was like, that's how fast it's happening. It's like, it's pretty
quick.
dang quick. From like
Yeah.
beginning of the day to the end of the day, they all like had surface rust on them.
Yeah.
You could pick out which ones, but from the beginning goes.
Yeah.
Is the deal.
Was it weird picking up horses out in West Texas than it was like in Houston?
Yeah, just going from wire brushing soles to actually having to
Knife them out.
knife them out and
Trim them.
learn what a sharp knife is.
Did you have like a big business down south before you moved?
No, I really didn't start my business till after I finished my apprenticeship. And
Oh.
I had a few here and there,
Yeah.
gas money and
Yeah.
buy a few things, but I didn't really have a big business. I was trying, but just
We got old exhaust noise from the Hipmobile coming by.
No kid.
yeah.
Did you grow up with horses in?
I did not.
Really?
No, I grew up in suburbia, Houston.
Oh, suburbia, huh?
Suburbia. Yeah.
So how did you decide you were going to become a horseshoer?
I think it just happened. It's just one of them deals. I was going to college. That's what I was instructed to do.
What did you go to college for?
I don't know.
You're
That's
just
what
going.
I was just going.
Studying.
Yeah, I went in starting thinking I was going to be a vet.
Okay.
And then when I saw how much schooling it, I was like, no, I can't do that.
So you already just liked animals?
I loved animals. Yeah, I was in 4-H and I showed pigs and cows and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
so I like the agricultural background. So I wanted to do something in agriculture. And while I was in college, I, was taking algebra for the third time. And it's like, something's got to give.
I'm right there with you. So
I was looking for a summer job, and I wound up taking a camp counselor job at a YMCA, and they had like a string of horses, and so I took kids out on trail rides, and I fell in love with the horse then, and I was like, I was all about the horses.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that job again the next summer, but I didn't want to work at that camp. I was like, where's somewhere where I don't have to watch 17 kids all at one time. So I started looking in Colorado at dude ranches, and so I called up one, and they said, yeah, we could use you, and if you could tack shoes on, the job's yours. I was like, well, I know a horseshoer. Have him show me how to do it. So I went over to his house, and he was shoeing his horse, and I asked if I could drive some nails. So he pinned the shoe on and with 2 nails and let me drive the other 4. And after I drove the first nail, I was like, this is so awesome. I can't believe you can drive a nail in an animal's foot.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with it right then. And like the very next week, I went and dropped out of college and
really
moved back home and saved up some money to go to horseshoeing school. And yeah, my dad was like, "You're gonna do what? A horseshoer? You don't know nothing about horses." I was like, "Well, I gotta learn somehow."
Yeah.
Off to races at that point, huh?
So were your parents pretty like strict growing up? Like
very, very strict. And and I was very active in sports, and so I was very competitive.
Okay.
And so after horseshoeing school, when I found out there was horseshoeing contests, it's just made it all even better.
Just come together.
And in hindsight, 2020, looking back, and if there hadn't been competitions, I probably wouldn't have been a farrier this long. It's very hard work, very hard work.
No,
And but my competitiveness keeps me going, and the fact that you can go shoe horses for a living and get paid to do that and paid to practice for competitions, it's like, man, that's all right. So,
it is one of like when you say like, oh, you got to drive a nail in a horse's foot. Like,
Yeah.
I still have that thought.
every time I nail up, I'm like, this is cool. You get to nail it
this
on.
thing's alive.
Yeah.
We're driving nails in it.
Yeah.
Like, it is so
And it
wild.
stays on for 6 weeks.
Exactly.
Holy
Or
moly.
longer.
Or longer, yeah.
Or longer.
Oh yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I'm going to the contest. I can't get back to you for a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes it be like that.
How long was Poor your first apprentice?
No,
Like, the first ever
I
apprentice
started 2 weeks after horseshoeing school with Kurt Cottle in Baytown, and Kirk and Jim were good friends.
Yep.
And so I did about a year and a half with him, and they got me introduced to competitions, and it's funny when you get out of school, I was top of my class. I thought I was ready to take on the world.
Where'd you go to school at?
Texas Farrier School. Jay Watson was the instructor there at the time.
Where was it?
In Weatherford, actually.
Oh, was it Weatherford?
Yeah, it was John Marino's. John Marino built that school,
Oh.
and then so John Marino was just down the road, where he made the anvils. So we got to go hang out a couple times at John Marino's and watch him make anvils, and that was pretty neat.
Wow.
And
More
so,
like an intro. Be able to see like an anvil made.
oh yeah,
that
that
early
was
in your career.
yeah,
Like,
that was my first anvil. I had a JHM Journeyman anvil. That was
it probably like also like meant something.
yeah, definitely.
It was.
Yeah, it was
I
pretty
think-
neat. I was like, I saw how this is made. It's really cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So did you like looking back? Did you like this year's school? Do you think it was good for you?
I think so.
Like, as far as like no one's leaving school just ready to burn it.
No, I like I said, coming out of school, you think you're ready to go. And my first day on the job apprenticing with Kirk, I just stood there with my mouth open going, I don't know anything about shoeing horses. I get the gist of it. This is a horseshoe nail. This is a horseshoe. You nail it on.
Yeah.
So hard about that. But just the first day, Billy Reed worked for Kirk Cottle. And so it was Kirk and Billy that day, and I just stood there in awe, and it's like realizing how much I don't know, and how handy these guys were, and how efficient they were, how fast they could get around horses, and bad horses too. They motor on through them. And so
Compared
I
to
was.
when you're in school and you're
Oh
like,
yeah, you shoot 2 horses at school, and you're like, oh, man, I'm tired. I'm
Seriously.
tired.
That was a day.
That
When
was
you're in
a
school,
day.
you're like, well, we did one before, and
Yeah.
then we did another after lunch. Pretty rough.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, I remember after the first hard day, maybe 2 horses, and my legs were all tired. But I was like, do I really want to do this the rest of my life?
You will probably watch Kurt shoot 2
Yeah, in 20 minutes.
before 8 o'clock in the
Yeah,
morning.
yeah, exactly. So I was pretty mesmerized by how efficient and how well these guys could shoot horses, and so it's like I've got a lot to learn, but I was eager to learn.
Yeah.
So and I lived about 2 hours from Kurt, so he lived on one side of Houston, I lived on the other. Yeah, but you had to travel through downtown and all the traffic to get there.
Oh, that's
So
great.
I would just go and just stay and sleep on this couch, and then.
This episode is also brought to you by our fine sponsor, World Championship Blacksmiths. Ultimately, they are a business, but their model is based upon help each and every one of you find and strive for the goals you set upon yourselves that most of us desperately need. Not only do they provide the competition aspect, they bring a community of people together that will have your back no matter what. So sign up for a contest and work towards those goals that you set for yourself. And you can also use code BRAINS in their online store for 10% off any merchandise. It's not including membership or contest fees. So go to www.worldchampionshipblacksmiths.com and use code BRAINS and buy yourself some merch. Thanks, everyone.
We were done for the week. Just drive home. But
Were you around like 18 years old at this point? Or?
21.
Oh, you're 21.
Yeah, I was 21.
Oh, that's
so
right, you went to college.
yeah,
for a little bit,
I did. Yeah, I did 2 years of college and
and that was it.
still a freshman. So,
So you didn't get no degree or nothing like
No,
that? You just
no.
dropped out. That was
no,
it.
I had a great social life. And,
I was gonna say, I was like, do you feel like really you got like the social?
oh yeah, I got
like-
I think once I took all my electives and all the hard classes were I was like, hey, I think I'm done. Yeah, fun part's over.
Yeah, might want to quit kicking this horse.
yeah. Taking all my ag mechanics classes and
That was the fun
Yeah.
part about going to
That
college
was, yeah.
at Walla Walla, just
Yeah.
doing school there. It was
right.
college.
Yeah.
You know, you got to experience everything else that goes with college.
Yeah.
Yeah, the college seems not that good in Lamar, Missouri. You know, like
Probably
at the
not.
Heartland, it wasn't that great. Just wasn't.
Right. Yeah, being close to here, on the weekends we come to here to Fort Worth and
Yeah.
stockyards, and that's pretty neat,
But it's probably also like pretty cool to just like you weren't just riding with this guy during the day. You were seeing his whole week life
Yes.
of how like he operated. Because I think too, like there's probably a lot of guys that ride with people like that are even here that are really good, but they go home at 5 or something, and
Right.
like, well that guy goes back and practices again at 9 o'clock, or,
Yeah.
like earlier in the
Yeah.
morning and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, and before I went into horseshoeing school, I kind of put myself through college mowing yards, and it was just a hustle deal. The more yards you could cut, the more you could make. So I was kind of thinking that, well, the more horses you shoot, the more money you make. And so, but it wasn't until I saw Kirk and Billy operating, like, oh man, you can really get around a lot of horses if you're efficient, and so they taught me a lot about efficiency and just working together and how to be fast and how to get around bad ones. And
well, especially it's like say you like sports,
yes,
like instantly probably saw it as a team. You're like,
yeah,
oh,
definitely.
this is-
Yes, definitely.
You
Yeah.
could do this.
Yeah, because one of the contests I went to was the Texas Two-Man,
Okay.
and that was a really neat one because you drew your name out of a hat of who you were going to strike or who you were partnering with. So you had no idea. It was like a couple of times you draw somebody, it's like, you want to make shoes? No, you want to make the shoes? No, you make the shoes. Yeah, I'll swing the sledgehammer. I was still really young and didn't know much, so I was like, no, I'll swing the sledge.
Yeah, I can do this part. I'll do this all
But
day.
it was neat because the second one I went back the very next year and I won it. So that was pretty neat.
It's pretty crazy too, because like so I'm guessing Texas was probably your first contest.
Yeah, Texas contest was my first one. That was about 3 weeks after I graduated from shoeing school.
It's huge.
quick.
And I have a cool story. So I'm just in the student division, and I had a brand new anvil. I mean, that JHM Journeyman, it was brand new. I don't think I even made a shoe on it. And I got it on a stump, and Kurt comes over with a file and just starts taking all the sharp hits. I'm like, what are you doing? You're wrecking my anvil.
Like, man, I don't have a lot of money, and I bought that.
Yeah.
You're just tearing it up.
So I didn't know really what was going on, and so I saw a group of people over here, and Shane Carter was the judge, and so he's like talking to them or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that's the clinic going on. Well, a lot of the students were making shoes, so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do that too. I didn't mean any disrespect, but I was doing it while Shane was giving his clinic. But so were the other students, so I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to
be over here.
Yeah. So I'm over there practicing or whatever, and all of a sudden Shane stops his clinic and comes over, and he shows me something I'm doing wrong, and I'm like, wow. And then he just goes right back to the clinic. I thought that spoke volumes that he would stop his clinic, walk over, show me something, and then go back to teaching his clinic.
A lot of guys would be kind of pissed.
Yeah, they'd be mad that I was over there forging during his clinic, but I don't know.
I went, one of my first clinics was, we went to a Shane Carter clinic.
Yeah.
And he like recognized right away. They were doing tongs and hammer stuff. It was like, I think I just want you to make shoes.
Yeah.
Like, and keep making shoes. And he would just like quit. And like now I've given a couple of tong clinics. I'm like, I can't imagine having this kid that I'm also trying to teach him how to make shoes in the middle of this other.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. Like, that's just who he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other guy. Like, there probably is a lot of people that got pissed off.
Oh, I'm sure probably. I know, being a clinician, if somebody was over there hammering while I'm trying to teach over here, I'd be like, hey, come over here. You'll have plenty of time.
I want to tune in here for a second.
Yeah.
It's probably easy to like get sidetracked as the clinician at that point too.
Yeah. Well, I was feeling like a student. I'm like, well, what he's teaching doesn't pertain to me yet, but I mean, it really did. If just naive, I didn't know what to do, and it was in Lubbock, and they had like this cowboy fest going on too, and so there was lots of things going on. There was people everywhere, and chuck wagons and horses, and so it was, I don't know, it was very exciting, and I was lost in everything. It's just happy to be there.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah. I bet, especially it's like you come out of school, and school like is like such like a group thing.
Yeah.
You're like happening, and then it's like you can go home, and it's kind of like, oh shit, now there's nobody.
Yep.
No, it's like going to a contest is like, it's like a little refresher. Like, there's a bunch of us.
Yeah.
Like, we aren't all alone. Like, it isn't how it works.
Yep. No, and I do like it the team sports, like you said, and the team shoeing. It's because I was very competitive in sports, that it's part of your team, and you don't want to let your team down.
No.
So, but I don't have no problems letting myself down. I do that every day. But I won't let my partner down.
No,
so were you basically just like, after that first contest, were you just hooked after then, and then
I was.
that and just kept going?
Yeah, I couldn't get enough of it. I went from doing the Texas. I did 2 contests that first year, and then I was really hungry, and then I was like looking outside of Texas, outside of Oklahoma. Whoa, there's one in Colorado. Oh, there's one in Kansas. Oh man.
Get the fix.
And I didn't travel much as in my youth. We did family vacations, but this was kind of neat, just traveling on my own. I'm a grown up.
No, I do think it is, because it is. All of a sudden it's like, I'm the same. We never traveled that much or anything. Like, it's the first time you're like going to the airport.
Yeah.
You got yourself a hotel, a ride places.
Right.
You're like, man.
Yeah.
But after you do it a few times, it is funny how quick you can go to a new town.
Oh yeah.
And just feel.
Yeah.
Figure out life at least a little
right.
bit.
Yeah.
And it probably was cool that you left, got this competition, fixed everything. Like the guys that you were riding with were competitors.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Billy and Kirk, they were. Right, Kirk had just finished being on the AFT, and Billy was trying to make the AFT, and then he did make it like 3 years later, after I started my apprenticeship. So he made the silver team, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
The guy that I got to work with a lot is now a team member, and
watching him practice
and practicing with him. Yeah, swing the sledge for him,
exactly.
And so that was really neat. It was inspiring, and I still to this day I look at Billy Reed as a person that I hold high in regards, just because I learned from him. I learned from Kirk too. Don't get me wrong there, but he was a student of Kirk's, and so it's like, I want to be just like one of his students. And Billy seems to have it all figured out, so I'm just going to mimic what Billy does.
Yeah.
So it was good.
No, I think it too is like, I think a lot of people, like, they think how good it is to just like run the sledgehammer and watch.
Yeah.
And just follow the leader.
Yeah.
On those things, like they kind of want to practice themselves.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, I think like Bodie's like a great example of it. Like he watches competition so much, and then he can go into a competition.
Yeah.
And it's just like.
Yeah, I mean it's hard for him to be at these and not get involved or get entered up or something,
It's funny,
you know.
I asked him that yesterday. He says, like, "Well, I've never done it, so how can I miss it?"
Yeah, I asked him the same question at Spruce Meadows this year. It's like, you finally get to compete out of your own trailer.
Yeah.
Do you know how to work it?
That's right. Strikes for enough people.
Yeah, exactly.
He's funny. He's working all day.
Yeah.
I think you said like a year and a half you worked for Kurt?
Yeah, and then I got a phone call from Jim Poor one day, and I was blown away. Like, it's not every day Jim Poor calls you. You know?
Yeah.
What does he want? So he called me out, offered me a job to come work for him, and without hesitation, I was like, yes. When do I start? Next week. Okay. Uh-oh, I have to tell Kirk. So I'm like, how am I going to tell him, you know? So we go shoeing, and I'm in the truck, and I just can't hold it anymore. I got to tell him. And so I said, Kirk, I have something to tell you. And I've accepted a job with Jim Port. And he looks at me, you know, and gives me some squinty eyes, and it's like, I know. It's like, what?
Oh. I was going to say, I was like, Jim must have
I know.
Imagine, like, Jim probably asked him first.
Yeah. So that was, I didn't know that, you know. I was too naive to figure that out. But yeah, he's like, yeah, they talked, and they thought it would be best if I went out to gyms and get exposed to a little bit more. And Kirk was pretty busy shoeing and was raising a family, so he wasn't getting to travel a whole lot. And Jim was at that time was working for Diamond and Cooper, and they were doing a lot of clinics and going out of town a lot, and so it was really neat to be alongside of Jim and Bill and Kathleen, and that was fun. I learned a ton.
And were you guys shoeing a bunch of horses?
Yeah, at the time, halfway through that apprenticeship, Jim stopped going out and only started doing horses at the forge, at the shop. And so he gave Bill all the outside horses, and so I would help Bill go do those horses. And then on slow days, we were in the shop making tools, and then horses would show up. We'd pull off of tools and go shoe the horses, and then back to tools. And so I was...
What a unique, like, pretty unique apprenticeship.
It was great. Yeah, I feel so fortunate, you know, that I always say I feel like I'm the luckiest farrier as far as where doors have opened for me. But, you know, a lot of that does come from hard work, too. You have to put in the work.
Yeah, I wasn't going to hire no son.
Yeah.
The work and be like, man, you passed the elevator test, so you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're not awkward to be around.
Right,
so
yeah.
So it's like, you're just like a good guy.
Yeah.
So it's not like, no one's like, well, fuck that old Todd guy. You know, it's like, word gets around, you're a good guy.
Right, yeah.
Obviously, people are going to keep taking.
What's up, guys? Going to take a little minute, talk about some of our sponsors for the show. One of the largest ferry supply stores in the world is stepping up for Forge and Brains podcast to help you guys by sending you on your way with a cool gift when you use the code BRAINS at checkout. Wellshod carries so many different supplies throughout their warehouse that, honestly, we could probably do a whole podcast just talking about all the different supplies, tools, anvils, all sorts of products that they carry throughout their warehouse. It's insane. If you guys haven't been there, you should put it on the list to go check them out, just to go see them, but also to go buy some stuff too. Their recent products they've been making in-house is anvils. They're producing the Scott anvils as well as the new Scott Eden's 200-pound anvil. I believe they've also been doing the Cliff Carroll anvils for some time as well, and John Harshbarger talked about that in his episode previously on Forge and Brains podcast. So when you guys go to order with Wellshod, either online or on the telephone, use code BRAINS, and they'll hook you up with a free product in your order. And don't be afraid to let us know what that gift is. We're happy to be working with Wellshod because they are invested in this trade, the same as the rest of us, and not just there for profits and money. Plus, I don't know how you can beat that $10 flat shipping they always have. Like, that's insane. Can't get a better deal than that. So either call them up on the telephone or go online at www.wellshod.com. And when you go to checkout on your order, use the code BRAINS and they'll hook you up with something cool in your order. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about working with Wellshot. This is going to be great.
Yeah, and I think if you just do what you say, if they ask you a question and what's your plan and you kind of stick to that plan, they'll respect it and they'll help you along the way. Yep. I think just setting goals for yourself and not setting these goals too unrealistic. Make them, you got to have some that are unrealistic, but you also need some that are attainable, just so you have milestones to reach. But you do need some unreachable goals as well. I've always, whenever I make up my mind to compete or go to a competition, I set some goals. So where do I want to be? What, how much time do you want to devote to this? And and now I took a break for about 13 years to raise a family, and now I'm kind of back into it. And it's been challenging trying to get back into this. Everybody else got better, and they won't let you start back in the novice.
Yeah. You don't get a little restart.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You made the AFT before you took the break.
Yes. Yeah. I after I finished my apprenticeship with Jim, I think it was about 3 years after finishing the apprenticeship, and I was really good friends with Bill, and Bill was on the team, and so I practiced a lot with Bill and
Bill Poor, right?
Bill Poor and Austin Edens and Billy Reed and a lot of the Texas guys. We had a big group of guys in Texas that competed hard and heavy.
I tell people that all the time. If I were going to move somewhere just based on being a farrier, it'd be to Texas.
Yeah. It's a good area to shoe horses in.
Absolutely. It's such a community.
Yes, and
you guys have the most world champions.
Right.
For, as state-wise.
Yeah.
I don't know that as a fact, but I'm throwing it out there that I would imagine.
Well, let's see.
This place has it.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah.
It is just you guys got so much, your guys' home contest is.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So there you are, you got an apprenticeship with Kurt and Poor, tools probably pretty well at this point.
Yeah.
Where there's so many people, they try to skip that forever.
Right.
And they never know, and it's just slows them so down.
Yeah.
And then you get to hang out with dudes that are also hard at it.
Yeah.
All in your area.
Yeah.
When you were working for Jim, were there any goals that you had set for yourself during that time?
A little bit. I didn't really get into the goal setting until I stepped away from Jim's and finished up my apprenticeship, and I had made a goal that I wanted to make the America Farriers team. Okay. And I think that's when I really learned a lot about setting goals and how to achieve them, and it was trial and error, but I kept that goal in mind that I wanted to make the team. That was my goal, and so I found a shop that had an apartment inside. Actually, it was just an office that I converted into an apartment.
Okay.
And I wanted to be able to walk out of my dormitory and my anvil be right there in front of me, calling my name, saying, if you want to do this, you got to come visit me first before you leave and when you get home.
Yeah.
And so I lived there for 5 years, and
really,
I could have gone and got an apartment, no problem. But I was like, no, I want to be in the shop. Yeah,
Were you single at this point?
I was single. Yes.
You know what that sounds a lot like? Troy Wood's shop.
Right. Exactly. Yes. So so I had relatively low expenses. I think the shop cost me $600 a month.
Oh,
and it was. And I had one plate, one fork, one knife, one cup. And so,
but 20 fullers.
Oh yes, you bet. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Every tong for every side.
Yes. Yeah.
One fork.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but I had that goal in mind that I wanted to make the team, and nothing was going to stop me. And I finally reached it 3 years later after setting my mind to do it, and I was just obsessed with practicing and competing, and I wanted to be on there so bad. Nothing else really mattered.
So, you practice so hard, and we usually hear from guys that they make the team. Once I made the team, I was like, wow, I'm barely even.
Yeah, my first year.
Do you still feel like that?
First year on the team is still, you're like, I know nothing. But I think I learned the most that first year. Yeah. The learning curve, that first year on the team where you get 3 of the top best guys in the nation critiquing your work every single time. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like sometimes you don't want to go because you're like, I don't want to take that ass chewing, but if I want to get better, I got to take it. you know.
It's
And
one of those things too. You're like, I trust me. I'm trying to make my hands not do this.
Yeah.
Dumb stuff right now.
Yeah.
I don't want them to either.
Right. But I had a blast. The journey was just unlike any other journey that I've ever experienced, and to be a part of this community is unreal.
Oh man.
So, yeah.
No, it's good. Like, you took a break, you came back, though. But does the community feel any different?
No, it's still the same. I feel like horseshoers are the salt of the earth. I mean, I've never met any
parties are less.
Yes.
Nowadays than they were
Well,
then.
maybe because I'm older now, I'm not hanging out with the young crowd, but yeah, I did my fair share, that's for sure.
They hear like all these like wild stories or whatever, like during the 90s or thousands of guys doing these fun things. And
Yeah.
I look at it now, like you and I, we're going to bed at night and like
Yeah.
just going back to the hotel.
Watching some TV.
Yeah, 9 o'clock.
Exactly. Like, trying to get our electrolytes in for the next time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we partied quite a bit at these competitions when, before you were married, and that's what was neat about going to a new town. Let's go check out the scenery in the new town. Yeah.
You took that break, were you just shoeing horses hardcore?
Yeah, just
Head down?
head down, shoeing horses and raising a family, and we're still raising a family. We decided not to quit, so it's like,
you were telling me how many kids you have.
Yeah, we have 6 children, and they're a handful, but I enjoy it.
What do you guys drive places?
We have a big Sprinter van.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, it
But-
has to be a van.
Well, we've had Suburbans, vans, Sprinter vans.
I was like, a Suburban maybe would
Yeah.
reach it, but I was thinking like,
Yeah, we outgrew the Suburban. But yeah, it's bad when you outgrow a Suburban.
yeah.
I heard somebody say yesterday when Craig was saying Todd's had 6 kids, and someone was like, he has 5 more, he'll have a football team.
Yeah, no doubt. Right now we got a basketball team with a sub.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, dude, it's like, I'm sure they're getting hurt.
Oh yeah, they play hard.
Yeah.
How many? What's the boy-girl ratio?
4 boys, 2 girls. Yeah.
Oh.
So the girls are gonna be tough.
Are the girls the youngest?
No, they're both in the middle. So it went 2 boys, then a girl, then a boy, then another girl, and now another boy. So they'll definitely be looked after. So the boys are pretty protective of the girls, but when they wrestle, they don't hold back on the girls. They let them have it. Yeah. But the girls are the same way. They find weapons against the boys.
Yeah, find a way to get even.
That's
So
right.
did the boys like have an interest in becoming a horseshoer? Or?
I think so. My 2 oldest boys this year competed in the novice class at Texas,
Oh, no kidding.
and but it was last minute, 15 and 14.
Okay.
But it was last minute. They decided like a week before the contest, and so they didn't get much practice time. But one of them did place in a class, so he was pretty excited that he placed in the class, and so.
Been rubbing brother's face.
Oh, he did. He did. Definitely. Yep.
So next year they're gonna like practice some more.
I would think next year,
Like
they're
the hook
going.
almost?
Yeah, I think so. Because I caught my oldest after the contest, after they were done competing. I looked over there and he lit the forge and was just, having a play in the fire. And I was like, wow, he's definitely shows some interest that he's lit the fire the next day. So,
Yeah.
so I think so.
Do they ride with you at all?
A few times I've had them both pull shoes, a couple times, but just on the fronts. I don't know, I'm just being a protective dad. I was like, no, I'll get the hinds. That's all right. So I'm gonna have to send them away to do an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm too protective.
set
I'm
them
like,
up
no,
for double round.
I'll take the ass kicking for you. But I know I can't do that forever. So
Are you a little bit of a hover dad?
a little bit,
Really?
just a little. But just because I screwed up so much, like, hey, that looks odd. I think I'll touch it. Yeah, that's me. So I'm like, I don't want them to do it, because I'm the one who always gets burned or hurts myself.
They eventually touch it though. Huh?
Oh, they do. You're gonna have to, but I just have a hard time letting go. So I'm gonna have to send them away to do an apprenticeship.
My wife's that way. She's like, she follows our kid around her hand, on
Yeah.
the side of her.
But now having 6, the youngest one will fall and hit his head. I'm like, that's all right. He'll be okay.
He's growing.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, it was a guy, I forget, it was a horseshoer, he has a bunch of kids too. It was like, first time my daughter and I was telling him like how scared I was of everything. He's like, specifies give you like they're harder to kill than you think.
Yeah. They're made of rubber at that age.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's like you're probably not trying to like push too hard on
No, because I don't want them to think that they have to do it. I want them to, make the decision. Yeah, I want to do this. Just like me going to college. I went to college because that's what everybody wanted me to do, and it wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Until I drove that first nail at my friend's house. I was like, I want to do that. So
it was like you were meant to go that way.
Right.
You found that out, and then like look where it's led you now.
Right, and I feel like I've never really had to work a day in my life. Yeah, it's work, but it's not. I don't feel like I'm a slave to the job. I could quit any day. It's my business. If I want to go shoe it, I shoe it.
Yeah.
If I want to stay home and go hunting, I stay home and go hunting.
That's right.
Yeah. You always do. You like. It seems like you've mixed in other things.
Yeah.
Like tools. And
Yeah.
stuff into it.
I make tools. Do clinics and competitions. Yeah.
When was the first time that you actually because you have your line of like tools of like punches and fullers and hammers and britches. When was like the first time that you started getting into that and like making them for the sale?
I made some just to help ease expenses at competitions. I would make a few punches and stuff like that, and you sell them. All right, cool. Now the hotel room's paid for one night, and just trying to make it
this trip.
make it affordable to go. And so, and then once I stopped competing, I kind of it's like, okay, well now I can kind of devote a little more time because the demand was there. People were asking for them, and I didn't have enough time. I was like, well, that cuts into my practice time. And I'm sure you're probably figuring that out. I saw you made a bunch of fullers, and all that time making them fullers, that could have been a lot of time in the fire practice. And so, but once I kind of took a break from competing, I was like, okay, I'm going to devote some time to this, and then I just went off the deep end with the tools and
got really
involved, and then it's like, man, these tools are a lot of work.
Were you like, I don't know, would it be called like subcontracting or something, or like were you having Jim kind of do some of this for you? Or?
That did come into play. I was doing them all myself, and then and trying to raise a family and shoe horses. It's like there's got to be some other ways, and so I started with hoof knives. Where I was like, I'm going to get a knife maker to make a design for me, and then let him make the knife, and then I'll just sell it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, that works out great. I didn't have any time in this. I just had money involved, and making the first one how I really wanted it, and then just farm it out. But I still...
Is that still the kind of same knife that gets sold today?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Same knife,
yeah. They're pretty sweet.
So, and then of course Jim does my hammers.
Oh, yeah.
So, and those are the only two that I have that are farmed out. Everything else I do myself. So, but you have times where you kind of have to, like my tools right now have taken a back seat. But I'm hoping in 24 that I can kind of get the ball going again on that. Yeah, I mean,
the nice thing about the tools though is you can let them idle down if you want.
Yep.
And hang out there.
Yep.
Like the demand's still going to be there.
Oh yeah. Because those tools wear out and they need new ones, and then when you kind of like get excited to make tools again, the tools that you made the last time are all wore out. Now you get to sell them all new punches and new knives.
It was your tools, right, that for your punches, the handles were made out of S7 too, right?
Right, yeah, so
all one piece. What made you think of that?
Well, I was introduced to the casting by Jim Poor, and so I kind of saw some of the things that he had done, and he had made a punch where he had just a little bit of a handle cast into it, and then he would weld that piece to just a piece of mild steel for a handle. And I was like, why wouldn't you just cast the whole thing? And he's like, oh, it's too expensive. And so I got to looking at the expense. It was like 45 cents more per punch to get the whole handle on.
And then not have to weld.
And not have to weld, not have to buy bar stock, not have to cut bar stock.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll pay the 45 cents to have that whole handle done.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to worry about the heads coming off or...
Right.
Because I can't weld that well.
So would you be able to... Because I always kind of thought, like, you, like, if it's done or whatever, you can forge it into something after that.
Yeah, you forge it into a
knife at home.
Made out of it.
Yeah, you can. I've forged a few, like back pritchels or pritchels out of the handles, and chunk of S7 that you can do whatever you want with when the punch is dead. Yeah. So it was pretty neat doing that, and then of course I made 3 different types of pritchels, and
sorry, you got like the 50 cal.
Yeah, I had made my brother-in-law. He's got big old meaty hands and he's ginormous, and so I made him a pritchel out of 1-inch round S7.
Oh, damn.
And he's like, "Thank you, this is awesome." And then he used it, and he's like, "Man, I don't know if it's such a heavy pritchel that you don't have to hit it that hard for it to go through." And so I used it. It's like, wow, you don't have to hit it that hard. Just the weight of the thing will just almost punch itself. And so I decided I'd cast that, all 3 pritchels. And so I was like, well, when I forged that 1-inch round into an octagon, it's like, man, that looks like the barrel of a Sharps 50 cal. Yeah. And so I was like, there we go. I'm going to call this one the 50 cal. And then
good line.
Yeah, 50 cal, and then a deer rifle round like a 308, and then the back pritchel was 22. I was like, perfect.
Like before I ever knew you, like knowing those pritchels, I always thought you were like a big gun guy.
I am. I do like to shoot a lot, but I'm nowhere like Bill Porter or anything. I'm just obsessed with guns, but I do enjoy. I like to hunt. Yeah.
Because I remember you had that hammer and splitter out for a while.
Yeah. So the whole casting thing kind of got my brain working. I was like looking at the hunting industry, and I think what I had drug a deer up to the shop, and I grabbed a fuller, and I used a fuller to split the pelvis. I'm like, we need to make a hunting tool that does that.
Yeah. And
so that's the whole casting thing kind of came in, and then so I developed that tool, and I had Jim help me out quite a bit with that, and it came to life.
Pocketed inside.
Yeah, the axe stored inside the head of the hammer, and it was pretty neat little combo. It was just too heavy for people that hunt outside of Texas. Texas, we drive to deer stands. We don't hike nowhere. Yeah.
It's funny. Me and Jim were talking about that yesterday. He's like, my gun weighs like 30 pounds, stuff like that. Like mine weighs like 7.
Yeah.
I kind of hate how heavy it is.
Well, I carried that hunting tool with me elk hunting, and when I got to tree line, I threw it out. I was like, I don't need this thing. Yeah, I got more at home. Yeah.
So you kind of now you're working with Mustad.
Yep. So about 8 months ago, Mustad approached me and offered me a position with them, being a sales rep, and just it's been great. It's been a way to kind of transition from. I'm still shoeing, but I do have plans to kind of slow down, and I'm hoping to get my boys trained before I do get out, and then they can just assume my shoeing practice, and that would be nice. So this summer they're gonna basically start their apprenticeship and hopefully take over in a couple of years. So I'm holding on to it as long as I can. I still enjoy shoeing, and I don't think I'll ever quit shoeing.
Yeah.
I just enjoy it. Yeah. So, but.
Are your kids homeschooled or are they public?
All of them are homeschooled, and they go one day a week to like a community where. They have like classroom time on Friday, and then they turn in all their assignments and then get all the assignments for the next week, and they kind of give you just a rundown of.
So it would be easy to take them with you as an apprenticeship, and they could still get their work done later.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would work out good.
So yeah.
So what is like your role? Like, do you have like daily tasks you have to do for Mustad, or?
I start my mornings out with just have to check email. That's a new one for me. Opening a computer. Yeah. So I get up in the morning, have coffee, and I just check my emails, answer emails, and then on my way to shoe horses, I make phone calls, from Mustad or whatever if I need to return calls.
Like calling supply houses?
Calling supply houses, because I take care of 26 stores across Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Oklahoma. And most of those stores are in Texas. But you always got to answer a few phone calls and whatever. And then I shoe horses, and you'll hear the phone stop and going off, and so you'll have to pull off a horse and go answer somebody or have a meeting. But it's doable. It's not too bad. So, and then you get to come to events like this for Mustad. It's really neat to do that. So I decided I would get involved and compete some more, since I'm going to be here for Mustad or whatnot, and so yeah, might as well. I'm here.
A lot of these stores, these 26 stores, do you know them personally before?
I knew most of them, yes, but some of the smaller ones, like some of the stores that are just kind of like feed stores that have a dealership, some of those I don't really know that well. But we're
How has
building
the reception
relationships.
been like now that you are the Mustad working for Mustad? Like, how have they taken it now that you're trying to work with them?
It's been great,
Stores.
great positive feedback. Everybody's like, man, that's awesome of Mustad. That Mustad made a good choice. It's like, well, oh, okay, great. I think so too. But but
It is like you'd think they'd hire like a sales guy,
right, yeah,
but it is like you've done quite a bit of sales.
yeah.
obviously,
Being
with
in
all
the
your
tool
different
business,
businesses.
trying to sell your own stuff, it makes you a great salesman. So I'm sure y'all both,
I
you know.
feel like I'm a horrible one. It's
Right? Yeah.
Kind of makes you feel shameful sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh yeah, but you know.
It is funny, like especially like selling other horseshoers. You're like, I really don't want to take your money.
Yeah.
I love taking horse owner money.
Exactly.
But
Yes.
your money.
Yeah. Right.
Feel a little bad, but no,
Yeah.
it's probably nice for the supply houses that you know the product.
Right. Yeah, and I owned a supply house for a little while. We did that for about 2 years, so I kind of got the background of how a supply house runs.
My phone died.
Let's talk about our newest sponsor of Forge and Brains podcast, Yukon Forge. If you're a fan of the show, then you probably already heard the interview we did with John McNerney and all the badass things he's accomplished in his career, as well as the type of character this man has. John's graciously offering you guys 10% off on anything you order when you go to www.yukonforge.com and use code BRAINS at checkout. On his website, you'll find he has a variety of high-quality, hand-built tools made by him personally. His hoof knives are some of the best on the market. All his tongs are forged from 4140 steel to hold up to whatever you're grabbing and holding. John's been developing a new hammer out of 4140 steel that looks pretty dang sick, and I can't wait to try one. His fullers are handmade from S7, and I personally know of some that have withstood the years of hammer blows. Also, a new and unique tool John has developed is the propane nut. There's nothing worse than stripping out your propane regulator from not having the right tool. The Yukon Forge propane nut replaces whatever you had been using for a simple tool that you can tighten and loosen with your fingertips with ease. So go to www.yukonforge.com and use code BRAINS for 10% off your order. That's a hell of a deal, my friends.
So do you think you will go full time with Mustad then?
I am basically contracted full time right now.
Okay.
I do still shoe horses, but it's some long days. I start my day, like I said, I start my days with Mustad work, and I end my days with Mustad work. So, so I'll be laying in bed answering emails right before I go to sleep. So,
Is there ever like a bad, what would be a bad email, or a stressful email?
probably just the consumer complaining about a product, damage to a product, or
Or it didn't arrive, or something like that.
So you have
mostly like maybe a rasp that wasn't sharp, or maybe clogging or something, or a tool that's not working properly or whatever. So you have to take the complaint and then fix the problem, and because you don't want to lose that customer.
No.
So
but
so I'll go out of my way.
Ridiculous ones.
Oh yeah, you hear it all. You all are tool makers. Y'all
What's
heard.
the pettiest one you've heard?
I don't know right off the top of my head. It's probably one I think that I kind of shook my head at was
you're just like,
somebody broke the clips off of a shoe, hammering it against a foot, and I'm like, how did you? They were cold shod the horse and were hammering the clips against the foot, and they said something's wrong with these shoes. The clips break when you hammer them against the foot. And
it didn't just happen one time.
Yeah.
It happened.
So I had to figure this out. So I went to the shop and got the same shoe that he was using, and I started beating the crap out of it with a hammer just to see if I could break it. And I couldn't break it. It just folded over. I'm like, how did he and he's nailing it. I mean, just hitting it against a foot, and he broke it. I'm like, how did he break that? So I think I kind of figured it out. He must have quenched it, like when it was like just piping hot and just quenched it. And then just, I don't know, the steel got hard or whatever, but I beat that thing with my rounding hammer and just folded it back over, and it just bent. It didn't break, so I don't know how this fella broke these clips off there. So.
And what do? You just like, we'll send you another box?
It's just like, I'll send you some shoes. Sorry about that. I tried to break it, but I couldn't break it. I even sent him the video. I was like, look, I beat it with a hammer, and I don't know how you're breaking these, because here's the video of me smacking these clips with a rounding hammer, and they're not breaking. So I don't know what you're doing.
It is probably hard sometimes because like you are a horseshoer, and it's not like you're just like, oh yeah, I've shod one a couple times. Like, you've been on the team.
Yeah.
You can make shoes well. You know how to shoe a horse good, and so you're like, you guys.
Yeah, I think it comes down to mostly a lot of operator error.
Yeah.
It's not always the error. Most of the time it's the Indian. So, and if you really want to get into tool making, send all your tools to a shoeing school. They will test your stuff out. Yeah, they will tear it up. Holy
Especially
man.
like, man, like, it's like you make the tools that get beat the most.
Yes, yeah.
Punches, pritchels, and fullers.
Fullers, holy mackerel. Yeah, I counted one time how many times you hit a fuller. And it's like a little over 120 hammer blows to put just one crease in one side of the shoe. 120, and you're smacking this with a 2-pound hammer.
Sometimes I'm letting a
striker.
Yeah, sometimes I'm letting a striker hit that.
Right, and now you think, how many shoes do you have in one fuller? Holy cow. So how many hammer blows on that one fuller?
So I have a Jukes one that is like 6 years old.
Yeah. Oh,
that
yeah.
is crazy to think how many licks.
And then, so you'll make a fuller that's lasted 7-something years, and then they bring it back to you, and it's like it broke. I'm like, well, you only hit it, 750,000 times you hit this thing, and it finally broke.
Or like, I'm sure like you with pritchels, it's like they're like, well, I've tried fixing it a bunch of times. Like, I have seen horseshoers fix their pritchels.
Oh yeah.
Never very good.
Yeah, there is an art to fixing a pritchel or just putting the tip on a pritchel,
yes.
and even the temperature and even where you live, the temperature of where you live comes into play.
I can't count on both hands how many people I've seen this weekend retune up their pritchel cold on the face.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no heat at all.
No heat.
Just pull it out, and stuck in the nail hole. Pull it out and rehammer it back square, and go to the next one. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay.
The metal didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's still there.
That's right,
It's just moved it a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I think, you make those tools are the most beat.
Yeah, the fuller to me is like, holy moly, that thing takes some abuse.
That's crazy how many times that thing gets hit.
Did you started a Farrier supply as well, right?
Yep. Yeah, we.
Do you still have that?
No, we. It just didn't suit our lifestyle. The amount of time that you have to. It's like any self-employed business. You're going to be married to it, and so we found ourselves, putting 12 to 14 hours in a day with a supply house, and with our big family, it just didn't suit our lifestyle.
Yeah.
It was making money, but it wasn't making enough money to justify these long days. And I was still shoeing. My wife was running the store. Yep. Not taking a paycheck, just putting it all back in the store, trying to grow the store. So she was like, I'm done with this. Yeah, I'm ready to move on.
Especially, I'm sure for she probably doesn't love horseshoeing.
No, yeah.
That much. She's like.
Yeah, so I liked it. Because then all of a sudden you had all these horseshoers showing up at your house. I was like, I love having horseshoers come over. It's a great
all
company.
Your buddies are swinging by all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a good deal.
So, but like I said, it didn't fit our lifestyle. So we tried to sell it, and then it didn't. It was gonna be bought, but we ran out of time, and we were gonna have another baby. Imagine that. And. So we had to do something quick because we only had a month left before the baby was going to be due, and then my wife was going to be not being able to run the store because she's going to be having the baby. So we decided just to liquidate the store and close the doors. So But I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I learned that side of the industry, and
It probably in a way led you to what you're doing.
probably
right
so. I think that background kind of led me to being able to
Gain some
work
of that knowledge.
work for Mustad and understand how that area of horseshoeing works.
Because it is something I don't think people understand really real well, of how the distribution works
Yeah,
of the horseshoeing market.
right.
And so it is. So it's like you are a sales rep, like you said, for these stores.
Mm-hmm.
And so it isn't like just any store can be like, well, I'm going to start selling Mustad products.
Right. No, you have to. Probably, if you're going to start a store, you're going to have to buy wholesale from another vendor. Like when I had my store, we weren't big enough and couldn't buy or couldn't get a dealership with Mustad or FPD or anything, so we bought wholesale from Wellshod.
Okay.
And so it worked out great for us because I could order weekly from Wellshod, but if I did get a dealership with, like, let's say Mustad, now you're going to have to buy it like $10,000 worth of stuff, and I'm like, that's like more than what I buy in a month, so
Yeah.
I would have to wait, 2 or 3 months in order to save up the money to buy that kind of stuff. So it was actually worked out better to have the wholesaling through Wellshod, because then every week I could replace what was missing.
Yeah.
Or I could add, something, a new product or a new shoe line or whatever, and not have to risk so much. I could just buy a box and not a whole pallet.
See how it's going to do.
See how I was going to do. So yeah, it was good that way.
Because is that the price about, like, that people have to, like, if they're going to
Usually about 10 grand an order is usually a pretty.
And, like, they can't even, like, so it's like, because there's kind of like territories, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't want too many stores.
Right. Yeah. So
Close together.
yeah, they kind of they're not really opening up a whole lot of new stores. You would have to be on fire. You would have to do a lot of sales for them to raise an eyebrow to say, yeah, we want you to be a dealer.
Really?
So I did everything I could when I had my store to become a dealer. I did everything they asked, and still doing everything they asked. They're like, you're just a little too close to some of our other dealers. So they're pretty protective of their dealers, and rightfully so. I mean, it's good for them to.
No, yeah, because I just think that some people, like, don't get, like, well, why does my Soleil house not carry this? Or why does it not carry this?
Right.
It's like,
I think
does
some
this?
stores carry certain things just because certain people use certain products, and they know they'll sell, and
demand.
and like they're hesitant sometimes to put a different shoe on the rack and see if somebody will buy it. They're like, it's just going to collect dust, and I don't want to sit on that money.
A lot of horseshoers just buy the same thing over
and over and over. Yeah, they get.
I use what I know. And
Yeah, I found that if you get in a rut or you know whatever, and you're kind of burnt out, if you just like change brands or do something like that, or change style of shoe, or change the style of nail that you use, or that always kind of like did it for me. It was almost a challenge. Ooh, okay, how do I shape the shoe to get the end result that I want?
Right.
So maybe I'll only buy fronts and
Make them into hinds.
turn them into hinds, and so it's just challenging yourself and getting yourself out of a rut, or
mixes
whatever.
the day up.
Yeah, mix the day up, or go from toe clipping everything to quarter clipping, or vice versa, or go to no clips, or
Machine made clips.
yeah, pre-clip shoes. After working with Mustad now, I've found myself grabbing some pre-clip shoes.
Really?
And it was nice in the summer. It's like, oh, I don't have to stand in the forge in front of that as long. I got these pre-clipped ones I can nail on. So I've actually, now that it's turned cooler, I was like, okay, I'm not stocking any of these pre-clipped shoes in my inventory. Yeah, I got to get back to my roots. Yeah. So, but just setting some bounds for myself. All right, don't be lazy. You got to pull your own clips.
So to kind of go back a little bit, you were kind of in some of the early days of the WCB as well, right?
So yeah, I got to witness and participate in the birth of the WCB, and so that was really neat. And I got to do the very first, I want to say it was pre-season to the actual WCB opening up.
Okay.
And so that was neat, just figuring out the fires and how to work with two-man, and it was. And at that time, your striker could rasp.
Oh,
which was really, really cool. I was like, man, you don't have to kill yourself. And then you find you're picking your striker on how well he rasped.
How well, yeah.
Yeah, and so that worked out great. Like you could just kind of halfway make a heel caulk, and if you got a good striker, he can make that heel caulk look perfect.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I don't have to spend so much time on this heel caulk. My striker's gonna rasp it.
Were you on like the American Farriers team previously before that?
Yeah, so I think the WCB kind of came in around 2007, 2008, somewhere right in there.
Yep.
And so I was on the AFT, and we decided to jump ship from the AFT and go do the WCB, try to make the WCB team, because it was going to be over a series. It was going to be over like 6 competitions, and then you take the 6 best guys. And so I was like, well, it's going to be the best 6 guys who are the most consistent instead of just all one contest at the AFA. So somebody may have a bad day or make the wrong side shoe, and that just costs them the team. So we were like, well, we'll have a better team if we do the WCB, because you have to be in the top 6 for the whole season.
Right.
So I felt like we had a better team with the WCB just because you were taking the most consistent guys.
But how many years did you do the WCB team?
I did the first 2 years. Yeah.
Did Craig say you won the first Stonewall, or the Striker of the Year?
I was first Stonewall Striker of the Year, and it was by accident. I saw after the first 2 contests, I'm like, oh, I'm up there in points. I might actually have a chance. I better put some strategy to this. And so I was like, I was tied with Tim Hoover, and Daniel Jones was like 1 point behind. And so like for the next 3, I had to strike every round because they weren't letting up. I'm like, well, they're not letting up. So, and I'm tied for the lead right now. I'm not going to let up. So it came down to the last one, and I think Craig said, well, we're going to have a strike off if you guys tie, and you'll get like a piece of 5/8 square, and whoever can draw it out the longest in one heat will win it. Well, that's 10 grand.
Yeah.
Like
one piece of 5/8.
On one piece of 5/8, you got 10 grand on the line, and so I trained for it. I did. It was like
I didn't practice any of the shoes.
Yeah, I didn't practice any shoes, but I drew a lot of 5/8s out on a sledgehammer. So, it just so happened that in the finals, it was in Florida. The finals were in Florida that year, and Tim and I were tied going into it. And it was very hot and humid in Florida, and it was January, but it was hot and humid.
Yeah.
And I think Tim had the flu, and he like passed out in a go. And
that's right. He told us
yeah,
about that.
I thought he was telling us about that.
Yeah, like he just passed out. And so I'm like, oh, I'm in the lead. I've got it.
Yeah.
But if I didn't strike, Daniel could catch me. And so I asked Daniel, I was like, we can just stop right now. I'm in the lead. And he's like, I ain't going to let you have it, little buddy. I'm like, All right, so I had to keep on striking. And that last go of striking where I actually won it, I just sat on the ground, and I just sat there for like 30 minutes. I was so whooped. I was whooped. I'm like, all right.
I bet.
Because it was over 6 competitions that year, or 5 or 6. So you had to strike every round. Yeah, not 3. It was like 5 or 6, and you had to strike every round.
And you still made the WCB
And I
team.
still made the WCB team.
I think that is
I was whooped.
pretty crazy.
Yeah, I was whooped. So I'm glad I did it, and it was fun. I like the fact that I am the first one. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
You still have the rig?
no, I sold it.
Yeah.
I regret selling it, by the way. I do
Yeah.
Keep the
regret.
nameplate.
I did keep the nameplate.
Yeah.
I might put it up in this Mustad van.
There you go. Can't take that away from you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so that's pretty
So that's
cool.
the plan from now on, huh? Is you're gonna start heading out,
I
get
don't-
the kids in. And
Yeah, like I said, I just started back a year ago competing. I really love competing. It's the practice time that's been a challenge for me. Learning how to practice with having a big family,
Yeah.
and like I didn't get to practice a lot for this one, and I've been out of town a lot for Mustad, so I really didn't get a whole lot of practice time for this one, and it shows. So
Well, the good thing is if your sons do the apprenticeship, then you'll have strikers. here
I'll
before
have
too
strikers.
long.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and I enjoy shoeing when I have somebody with me.
Yeah.
It breaks the day up. It's shoeing by yourself. It's not bad. I do like shoeing by myself. I need some time. Yeah. Once I've gotten in my head enough all day long by myself, I'm like, I need some company. So it's nice to have people come work with you, and it just seems like misery likes company. And when it's 105 degrees and you got 10 sets to do that day, you're like, sure would be nice to have somebody with me that day.
Yeah, to share this misery with.
Exactly.
Mustad should just schedule you some paid practice time. If
Yeah.
you do better, it looks better.
That's right. Yes. Y'all hear that?
Good
Yeah.
idea.
No, that'd be good. But it is nice to go to all these different stores, because I have to make visits to these stores, and I just find somebody that lives close, and I'm like, hey, you want to make some shoes tonight?
Yes.
I'm in your area. So like, I went and hung out at Dusty's, and because I was doing some store visits up there, and I just went there, and I went to Mark Melster's and hung out at Mark's, and I plan to do the same when I go to New Mexico. I'm gonna hit up Chris Madrid and go do my Mustad work and go hang out with Chris and or Craig or whoever, and same in Colorado. I'll find people there, and then
Definitely works to your advantage.
it does. Yeah. So it's like, well, I better take advantage of this opportunity, and
It's like a mini vacation.
it is.
Well,
yeah, and getting paid.
Yeah.
So, and get to practice, do what I like the most about horseshoeing is competing. I mean, I like horseshoeing all parts of it, but I like competing the most. Yeah, being just competitive nature.
Lights the fire again.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So,
Well, Todd, the question that we like to ask guests is the Mount Rushmore.
I know. I've been thinking about this ever since I heard the first podcast. It's like, how am I going to answer that?
I still haven't been able to figure out mine, so.
Really?
Gavin
I
still
got
hasn't
two on
finished
mine,
it.
Yeah. I mean, I need like 30,
Well,
40, but I think I got it narrowed down to 4.
All right.
as long as you
So-
keep it under 4 hours.
I think, of course, you guys probably going to guess number 1. I'm going to say Jim Poor.
Yeah.
He's, there's nobody like Jim Poor.
No.
And I have a funny story. When I was working for him, I was running an errand one day, and it was summertime, or like springish coming into summer, and I'm running an errand, and I come across a baseball stadium. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was like a minor league team in Midland, and they were having open tryouts. I didn't know that. I just was like pulled in the parking lot. I see a bunch of guys my age getting out of cars, going and carrying the baseball bags in. I was like, I wonder what the chances are that they would let me try out, because I love baseball. And I played in high school, and I didn't play in college. I was burnt out, but I regretted not playing in college, because a lot of guys I played with went on to play in college and then play on minor league, some even pro. But I was like, I was better than them, so I might go try out. So I sat there in the pickup. I'm like, should I do it? Should I do it? And I was like, God put me in a certain place. He put me in Jim Poor's shop. Of all the people, he put me in Jim Poor's shop. And I was like, yep, time to go back to the shop. And I went back to the shop and started practicing. I was like, I was put here for a reason.
I already have the thing.
I already have everything. Everything is all set up, and that was just me.
Yep.
I just have to react. And Jim taught me a great work ethic. There's nobody that guy works harder than anybody. And
It never really complaining of it. Just
never
he
complains
enjoys it,
about
right?
it. I think the harder day it is, the more accomplished he feels, And so my bedroom at Jim's was right next to the power hammer room. And
So if he's
upstairs
working, you're
deal?
awake.
no, I was in the trailer house on the other wall, but my bed was like against the wall. And Jim gets up early, 4 o'clock, 4:30, and he would start his mornings out with a blacksmithing project. So of course power hammer's running. So 4:30, I'm being bounced out of the bed, and I need an alarm clock. He just bounced me out of bed every morning.
And
And I come rolling in, and Jim would just smile. He was like, I did that on purpose. I know he's like,
get this kid going.
yeah, we got him out of bed. He'll either want to come see what I'm doing, or I'll just bounce him out of the bed.
It's funny. He was just telling me that he still does that. That he starts his day.
With a
He has
blacksmith
these little
project.
offcuts, a bucket of them. He's like, and I just make them into something useful.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
it's like, what a worker. Yeah, that's a good number 1 there.
Oh yeah, definitely. So number 2, I'm going to say is probably Austin Edens. The second competition I went to was, I think, Oklahoma. And I practiced really, really hard. I thought it was a shoe-in. I was like, nobody practiced harder than me.
Yeah.
I made so many shoes for that contest. I was like, for sheer luck, I got to win this just for how many shoes I made. Well, here's this redheaded kid, and he wins every class. I'm like, what the hell? Who is this kid? And
Out of nowhere.
yeah, and so I'm mad at him, I'm like, I don't know this guy, and he comes in and just smokes everybody. And well, I happened to run into him at another clinic, and I was, and I kind of like, he's enemy number 1.
Oh, yeah.
Enemy number 1. And I was like, well, Jim always said, well, know your enemy. Jim would always say that, know your enemy. I was like, I'm going to get to know this guy. I'm just going to make him my friend. Yeah. And so I was like, we hit it off right off the bat. And it's like, we decided to go to a contest together, and then we're great friends, and we'd go to competitions all over, and I'd chase him, and he'd chase me sometimes. Most of the time it was me chasing him. I do have a photo of him holding my horse one time. I hold that one.
Where lead rope's burning his hand.
Yeah, exactly. But I would probably say I owe a lot of my my will to get better to Austin, because he was, like I said, enemy number 1, and I was always chasing him, and he led me to where I am today just by wanting to beat him. Yeah. And he's super smart. He's got a great work ethic, and he knew how to push me. We were 2-man partners a lot, and we won the AFA convention one year in the 2-man, and that was something that I hold in high regards, is that we were first one year and second the next year, and then I made the team and we couldn't work together again. But those 2 years, the amount of practice that we did, or at least that I did, I have to practice quite a bit. I'm a repetitive type learner. I got to make things over and over and over, and then once I got it, like it's there. It's burned into my brain. But yeah, Austin would come over, and I would probably make twice as many shoes as he would. But there was a few times that it was a love-hate relationship. He can be hard on a person, and I got pretty thick skin. But man, a few times he'd get under my skin more. But it drove me. That was the thing. Is like I'd grit my teeth and just get so mad, and like, well, I'll show him. I'll show him, and I'd probably say a few times at the anvil, it was just me thinking about beating him. That's what drove me to be at that anvil, was me trying to beat him. So I owe a lot to him of my success, for my love-hate relationship with him.
Give it to someone to hate.
Yeah, but I think every person should, if like that's competing or whatever, should have somebody that you're chasing.
Oh yeah.
And Austin was the person that I was chasing. So he
by the World Championship Blacksmiths. We're so excited to have the Trinket family support what we're doing here. It is a huge part of the topics that we have on this podcast, and it's where we've gained a lot of community at. And exactly what they are. They are a community that supports education through competition. So if you were looking for a support system behind you on your journey of becoming a better farrier, go join up and go to an event. You will never regret it. And they've been nice enough to offer us a 10% off on their online store or call-in orders for everything besides competitions and membership. So go hit them up, get some merch, and let some people know what you support. Thank you, guys.
He would call and catch me screwing off or something like, how come you're not at home and practicing? It's like, because I'm at the lake.
Having fun.
Yeah. And he caught me. He said, what you doing? I said, practicing. And he goes, huh? Well, I just got off the phone with Bill, and he told me y'all are at the lake. I'm like, Bill. Damn it, Bill.
Cover.
Yeah, so, yeah, he would hold you responsible for your actions, so. Yeah, and he's got one of them Rolodex like a woman. Ding! He remembers everything, like every conversation. He can remember everything. But yeah, we had a good time traveling to all these competitions, and yeah, so I owe a lot to him. So moving on to number 3, I'd probably say is Bill Poor. Yeah, Bill traveled. We traveled a lot together, and we got to be really good friends when I lived at Jim's, and we shot a lot of horses together and went to a lot of competitions. And
Are you and Bill close to the same age?
I'm 6 months older than Bill.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I practiced a lot with him, and he has an easy way of explaining how to do things. At least from the way my brain works, he's like. He would show you how to make a shoe, and he would show you everything that he knew, and then still beat you on the day. That's what I like. He'd show you exactly how to do it and still beat you.
Yeah.
And but he also had this ability to see other people's work and mimic it. So he didn't practice that hard. He would just go steal Riley's practice shoes and go, okay, got it.
Yeah.
And then beat you.
That's what I've also heard as well. To do.
Yeah. So, but I owe a lot to him just for the amount that he's taught me and the amount of shoes that we've made together, and all the good times and bad times. We were close friends for a long time, and then Austin and Bill, we would travel a lot to competitions and practice a lot at Jim's shop. It was a good place to meet, and I was on the team with both Austin and Bill, and Bill was fun to be on the team with. He was always entertaining. If Bill ever said, "Hey, y'all, watch this," you better watch. He's either going to hurt himself, or he's going to be so phenomenally cool that you're like, "How did you do that?" Yeah. It's like, but he might hurt himself in the process, but it's still going to be, it's going to be both. And but it seems like everything that Bill does, he's just a master at it. And it doesn't take him long to become good at it. When I was living at Jim's, we would shoe together a lot, and we had some horses in San Angelo that we'd go, and we'd stay the night in San Angelo. Well, there's nothing to do in San Angelo. So we'd go bowling on Monday nights, and they'd turn the lights off, turn the disco lights on, and go bowling. Well, we got pretty good at bowling. And we were both
competitive guys.
Oh yeah, we were competing against each other. I've been trying to beat each other in bowling. I couldn't beat him at shoemaking, but I could beat him at bowling. And then it moved on to golf, and then and then he got involved in four wheelers, and I didn't follow suit on the four wheeler.
I didn't know Bill liked golf.
Yeah, he's apparently he's just a natural. He's awesome at golfer. Yeah. So, but he told me, he's like, I wanted to do the U.S. Open, but they won't let me ride in the golf cart, so that's out. So you have to walk that course. He's like, I ain't walking.
That's good.
But Bill was always a hoot to have around. He was always fun to be around, and handy. And the guy has such strength. I mean, I've watched him make toe bends cold. I'm like, how did you do that? Draft stock and just dull red. He'd pull it out dull red and just crack a toe bend, and I'm like, golly. And swing a sledgehammer like nobody's business. I mean, just smacking tools.
Strong.
Yeah, just strong. I don't know how he does it. But
some people are just stronger than others.
Yeah. Yes. On number 4 on my Mount Rushmore, it's too hard. I don't know who I would pick for number 4. So I'm going to leave that spot open, because I'm going to say it's the Ghost Rider, and it's going to represent anybody who's ever shown me something. So I'm going to leave that.
That's a good one.
Yeah, leave that one open for all the, because I've been on the exchange to England, and every one of those guys showed me something.
Yeah.
And every one of the guys on the English team, the Scottish team, the Irish team, the French team, every single competition that I've been to, every clinic that I've been to, I've learned something from somebody. Yep. So I'm going to leave that spot dedicated to them.
That's a good one.
So I wish I could name them all, and they could all be on that Mount Rushmore plaque, but I'm just going to leave it as the Ghost Rider. It's for everybody that's ever taught me something.
There's a lot of people out there, too.
There's tons. Even this one. I mean, I've learned stuff from here.
Oh, yeah.
Every one I go to, I learn something. And I'll go home thinking about what I learned, and I'll try harder at home. Yep. You know, just every single contest I go to, every clinic I go to, it's always nice the first day back. And you're like, all right, want to set a new tone here.
Exactly.
Better than last
Yeah,
time.
yeah. So, but I feel so blessed to be in this industry. The amount of people that I've met, meeting you guys, learning you guys, watching y'all both grow in the industry. Even learning about Gavin. I didn't know Gavin until Facebook came around, and I saw Facebook come around, and I was like, oh, he lives in Texas. He's in Weatherford, and it was neat. I got to be on a draft team with Gavin. That was
we
fun.
needed a partner. I couldn't remember who the other guy was.
Jake Treat.
It was Jake. That's right.
Yeah, it was Jake Treat.
We needed another guy for our team. And I asked Todd if he wanted to do it. He's like, I haven't really swung a hammer lately. But
It had been a while. But we got by it. It was fun.
Yeah.
I had a blast.
All the time.
Yeah.
So I got to do the draft class with Todd Walker.
Yeah.
Don't know until you ask. Exactly. That's good.
Yeah. So, but I would highly recommend anybody that's getting into shoeing that I know competing in horseshoeing contests is not for everyone. Just like certifications are not for everyone. And Jim Poor has said it a lot. It's not the test, it's the journey. And the amount of friends that I've made on these journeys, and sure, the things I've learned and the competitions and the buckles you win, the money you win, the Stonewell you won, those are all great, but I think it's all about the journey. It is about who you meet and who you can help, and I get almost as much joy in teaching somebody something as a win at a contest. If I show that person how to draw clips and they can use that in their everyday work, and they're like, I still remember when you showed me how to pull clips and 20 years ago.
It's like seeing their joy that they're figuring it out.
Yeah.
It's like, I helped you figure
And
it out.
everything I've learned, I'd say there's nothing that I learned on my own. I mean, there may be a couple of things, but everything I know about shoeing has been shown to me.
Yep.
Now I make my own style of it, but I'm not reinventing anything. Everything has been shown. So I want to continue that, and I want to show everybody that ask or what I know, because I've learned it from somebody else. So, and this is a cool podcast. That's the same. I mean, being able to watch this in between shoeings, when I'm going in between stops, I have this on. I'm like, dang it, I'm here already. Travis Coons, this is going to be a week long.
We'll get through that one.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time while you're here.
Yeah, I thank you guys for having me
thank
on.
you,
I
Todd.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And good luck the rest of the weekend.
All right, you guys too.
Thank you.
Gonna need
All right. Awesome.
This episode is also brought to you by our fine sponsor, World Championship Blacksmiths. Ultimately, they are a business, but their model is based upon help each and every one of you find and strive for the goals you set upon yourselves that most of us desperately need. Not only do they provide the competition aspect, they bring a community of people together that will have your back no matter what. So sign up for a contest and work towards those goals that you set for yourself. And you can also use code BRAINS in their online store for 10% off any merchandise. It's not including membership or contest fees. So go to www.worldchampionshipblacksmiths.com and use code BRAINS and buy yourself some merch. Thanks, everyone.
I want to take a moment to tell you guys about Wellshod. And not just that they carry every item you can think of from every brand, including from the little guys. You can get some Adam Farr punches, some Ben Sneer hammers. They pretty much got it all in the hard-to-beat $10 shipping. But I also want to take a moment to talk about John himself. You see the Wellshod name at pretty much every single contest that you go to. And not only that, you see John himself there supporting what we do and investing his time. Heck, John's even jumped in the competition in his ring himself at some of the WCB contests. That speaks huge to me. And it also speaks huge that John wanted to support what we're doing with the podcast. They've agreed that if you guys use Brains at checkout, they're going to put a little mystery item in the box for you. So go ahead and support them, what they're doing, and it helps support us. Because in all, we're all just one community. I want to take a moment to tell you guys about Wellshod. And not just that they carry every item you can think of from every brand, including from the little guys. You can get some Adam Farr punches, some Ben Sneer hammers. They pretty much got it all in the hard-to-beat $10 shipping. But I also want to take a moment to talk about John himself. You see the Wellshod name at pretty much every single contest that you go to. And not only that, you see John himself there supporting what we do and investing his time. Heck, John's even jumped in the competition in his ring himself at some of the WCB contests. That speaks huge to me. And it also speaks huge that John wanted to support what we're doing with the podcast. They've agreed that if you guys use Brains at checkout, they're going to put a little mystery item in the box for you. So go ahead and support them, what they're doing, and it helps support us. Because in all, we're all just one community.
Our great friends over at Farrier have been supporting us on Forging Brains for a while now. Since the time that they have sponsored the show, we have received many great products that I wouldn't have thought about buying, or because I was being a tight ass. But they were sent to me in their subscription box, and now I use those products in my day-to-day practice. Each box is sent bi-monthly, and in those boxes is an array of the top tools and products that have been tested by the greats in our industry. So go to www.farrierbox.com and use code BRAINS for 25% off your first month's order. You won't be disappointed, I'll tell you that.
Brought to you by the World Championship Blacksmiths. We're so excited to have the Trinket family support what we're doing here. It is a huge part of the topics that we have on this podcast, and it's where we've gained a lot of community at. And exactly what they are. They are a community that supports education through competition. So if you were looking for a support system behind you on your journey of becoming a better farrier, go join up and go to an event. You will never regret it. And they've been nice enough to offer us a 10% off on their online store or call-in orders for everything besides competitions and membership. So go hit them up, get some merch, and let some people know what you support. Thank you, guys. First of all, we owe Farrier a huge thank you for being one of the first ones to jump on and support what we're doing here with the podcast. If you haven't heard about Farrier Box, it's a bi-monthly box that comes to your door, and it's filled with goods, kind of like the Chewy box to your dogs, but this one's not filled with crap. She gets advice from the top guys of the industry and puts together a box.
Let's talk about our newest sponsor of Forging Brains podcast, Yukon Forge. If you're a fan of the show, then you probably already heard the interview we did with John McNerney and all the badass things he's accomplished in his career, as well as the type of character this man has. John's graciously offering you guys 10% off on anything you order when you go to www.yukonforge.com and use code BRAINS at checkout. On his website, you'll find he has a variety of high-quality, hand-built tools made by him personally. His hoof knives are some of the best on the market. All his tongs are forged from 4140 steel to hold up to whatever you're grabbing and holding. John's been developing a new hammer out of 4140 steel that looks pretty dang sick, and I can't wait to try one. His fullers are handmade from S7, and I personally know of some that have withstood the years of hammer blows. Also, a new and unique tool John has developed is the propane nut. There's nothing worse than stripping out your propane regulator from not having the right tool. The Yukon Forge propane nut replaces whatever you had been using for a simple tool that you can tighten and loosen with your fingertips with ease. So go to www.yukonforge.com and use code BRAINS for 10% off your order. That's a hell of a deal, my friends.